We need to attract and bring new people into the industry and help make them feel comfortable that they can grow here, then give them all the tools, all the online training, the hands-on training to help them get to where they need to go.
I'm joined by Brittany Heller, Director of Program Management for HeatSpring. For those who are unfamiliar, we'll talk a bit about what HeatSpring is, but many of you have probably used one of HeatSpring's free or paid courses to level up your skills. Today, we're going to talk with one of the folks that is responsible for bringing those courses to you, and how much more appropriate than to kick off the training conference with someone who focuses day in and day out on training. Brittany, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nico.
Absolutely. Well, as I mentioned, there probably are folks who are relatively unfamiliar with HeatSpring, although I can't really imagine how that would be possible at this point. HeatSpring's been around for a decade or more.
Yeah, since 2007.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Tell folks how HeatSpring can integrate into their own workflow and help them bring their workforce development up to par and beyond to excellence.
Yeah, so HeatSpring is an online learning platform, that's been around since 2007, and we specialize in all different types of training for the energy transition, so primarily solar, but we also have tons of stuff on heat pumps, building performance, geothermal, really anything that's addressing our changing climate and primarily in that energy transition space. A few years ago, we released the HeatSpring for Teams program, so we're starting to work really closely with team training leaders at hundreds of solar companies, where they're using our platform to upskill their team, onboard new staff, and monitor everything within a dashboard, kind of just keeping folks on task and moving forward with their training, and also looking to incentivize it and really build it into their whole company culture.
I remember when Brian and Duncan started HeatSpring years ago, it was even focused around, the name even is a nod to geothermal and the whole home, just thinking through how homeowners would electrify their house. It is, in my opinion, ahead of its time. One of the things that wasn't really super popular a decade ago that now seems commonplace is the idea of training online.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about what you've seen over the last 3 to 5 years, and in particular with the focus on workforce development and the upskilling of electricians from other industries over to solar, how you've seen the online education sector grow?
Yeah, definitely. And I can speak to that too, because 8 years ago, I was a workforce job trainee in construction at Grid Alternatives. So I've been on the workforce side and the construction side. And then from there, I went to become the workforce manager and the trainer for on-site installation programs. There's actually 2 Grid Colorado trainees that are here now as owners of one's an owner of their own company.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so it's super cool. So I've done, the hands-on training and have years of experience there, myself having been a trainee, and now I work at HeatSpring where it's all online.
Yeah.
And they're both really critical. I definitely think online can't replace all hands-on installation for sure. There's a lot of stuff you got to do in the field, but one thing that online really does is it helps professionals do it at their own pace. People are really busy, and being able to take classes in bite-sized chunks when it works for them, really works for a lot of our customers. And then it also lets people who are at different levels kind of all learn within a same team. More novice folks can kind of rewatch things or maybe start in an earlier class, while other folks can kind of go into more advanced stuff. So it really helps kind of level the playing field.
Have you seen an influx more of folks trying to get more advanced curriculum, or more folks that are just trying to get their foot in the door?
Gosh, both.
Yeah? Totally
both. Yeah, HeatSpring's got like 160 free classes. And those are super popular for people just getting into the industry who aren't really sure yet, if they're in it for the long haul. But there's also so many companies that are scaling up. We've got so many folks that were doing maybe residential and small scale commercial, and they're getting into utility scale and larger scale. Or there's also a lot of companies that are moving from just grid tied residential solar into all sorts of electrification. So they're needing to really upskill their team in terms of electrical skills.
Yeah, I love that you use the term upskill, because one of the things that I've complained about in our industry for years is we create our own internal inflation in the industry simply by hiring away folks from other companies who already know how to do it, right? It's a requirement on the job description. You must have 5 years solar or what have you. But it does feel like as the industry accelerates, as companies become more mature, there's a whole lot more, not just upskilling, but ingraining this culture of learning inside of the company.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how HeatSpring has both helped develop and seen evolve this idea of this culture of learning inside of these companies, and what you've experienced directly from companies growing internal talent versus, what I use, poaching from competitors?
Yeah, I definitely think the most successful and sustainable companies are going to be the ones that establish structured training programs, that they grow their people from within. A couple companies that I just really admire that do this well is like Revision Energy. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Yeah, they're like so great in terms of workforce development. Yeah, iconic. We partnered with them recently to develop a customer contracts and agreements course for their customer service apprenticeship. So they're not only doing their electrical apprenticeships, they're running other programs. And that's kind of their whole motive, is really to grow folks from within, help people grow into these more leadership roles. And another company that I've watched do this a lot is a company called Shaw Solar.
Yeah.
Wrote a blog post on them. Are you familiar with them too? In Durango. And when I spoke with them last year, I know they had like 20 or 23 people at the company, and 7 were registered electricians. Wow. And they were just saying they got to build.
That's a really high percentage.
It is. Yeah. I was really impressed. And they got this whole new apprenticeship program, a DER, Distributed Energy Resources apprenticeship program, approved with the DOL in Colorado. And they're growing all their own electricians because, and I'm not totally sure about this, but I'm sure there's not a ton of electricians to hire in Durango. You got to grow your own talent. And we need 1 million more electricians is kind of the number that I've heard thrown around. So we need to attract and bring new people into the industry and help make them feel comfortable that they can grow here. And then give them all the tools, all the online training, the hands-on training to help them get to where they need to go.
How, as a platform dedicated to educating the industry, which is highly necessary, how do you prioritize the different types of trainings? So where do you see what's being asked for versus what you can service, and how do you prioritize structuring that curriculum?
Yeah, that is honestly what my role is mostly shifted to, is building out all this new curriculum that we're getting requests for. There's constantly new areas that we just don't have. It doesn't really exist, to be honest. And so, in terms of balancing all that, we just brought on a new person at HeatSpring who's going to kind of take on a lot of like the course building and partnering with instructors to really get the courses built, which is something that I was doing. And I'm going to work on bringing in more folks to help get, we're getting electrical licensure courses on HeatSpring. We're working on a lot more electrical safety courses. We're working on transmission interconnection, just constantly expanding, honestly, at all fronts to be able to meet the demand of tomorrow.
Sounds like moving a lot further beyond just the residential sector as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Traditionally, I feel like a lot of the curriculum, the workforce training was really focused on the residential sector, and then apprenticeships were the bastion of like electrical unions or the Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, that kind of thing. It seems as though that stuff is being taken in-house a lot more now by companies.
I think so. Yeah. It's either they're going the apprenticeship model, or a lot of our companies and a lot of our teams that work with us are really focusing on credentials and certifications. So of course, NABCEP, we're here at the conference, that's our biggest one. And people are really just focusing on that. And I think people like certifications and apprenticeships because they give you the structure that really it's fair. Everybody's doing the same things. Everybody's got to meet the same requirements. And when there's that structure in place, it just makes it a lot easier for people to all follow through and get it done.
Brittany, what's got you most excited right now looking out at the landscape of education as it evolves online? What do you think in our industry is everyone should have their eye on in terms of how to level up the team, upskill the team? Where is that core focus?
Yeah, that's tough. I got to say it depends on the company, but we're trying to meet all those demands. If there's things out there that companies are needing and they don't see it, let us know. We're willing to figure out how to make it happen. And then another thing I want to plug for too is, I'm not sure that but HeatSpring is a learning platform, and a lot of our instructors are leading companies, or they have their own companies, or they're consultants. And so we're always looking for more experts to come bring their expertise. We're at a point now where people who know a lot need to share that information so we can all scale up and do better in the industry.
I love it. If you have information that you'd like to share, you consider yourself an expert in this particular area, please reach out to Brittany. Brittany, how would someone reach out and connect with you if they wanted to?
Yeah, thanks. My email is Britt, BRIT @heatspring.com. Please reach out, or we've got a teach page on our website. But I am always looking for folks. If you are a person at your company that is always getting asked how to do stuff or how to get things done, you could probably be a great teacher. So
we need more teachers and we need more workers. You can find out how you could join either side of that equation at HeatSpring.com. Brittany Heller is the Director of Program Management at HeatSpring. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Nico. Appreciate it.